Hello, my kinder and first leaders. Welcome to week number 4 of March. This week we are diving into a really cool story, one of my favorite stories in the Bible, about the story of the lost son, right? And so this is all about forgiveness, which is what we've been talking about all month. And so this forgiveness, today's bottom line is going to be God will always forgive us, right? So if we're turning to him, if we're being sorry for what we've done, then God's always going to forgive us. And that's what's awesome about this story. And so as we dive into this story, it's going to be really good for these kids to remember throughout their life that they can always turn to God. Why? Because he's a loving father. That's what it's all about. And so this first activity, you'll have just a few things, like a few toys that you can hide around the room, and they have to go seek and find those toys. And there is a really good point about just the different things that you can pray for at the beginning of that piece of paper. So please arrive a little bit early, pray for those things for your children as they walk into the room that day. That'll be really good for you to do. Now, as they're seeking those things, it's kind of like how this son was, and we won't really get to this until later, so I don't know if you want to make the connection, but it's how the son was looking to seek to something else, right? He was seeking for approval of the world or to do his own thing, but he wasn't really seeking the father's guidance and understanding. And so that's where he was seeking the wrong thing, right? Until he decided to go back to his father's house. Now, this next activity, you'll have an always, a sometimes, and a never page, okay? And those you can just put on the floor. And basically what you do is you'll have the children, you'll read one of the scenarios and you'll be like, okay, if you always do this, go to the always thing. If you never do this, go to the never thing, that kind of thing. And sometimes go to the sometimes. And so for instance, like brushing your teeth, I hope that they go to always for that one, right? Or like put on clothes, right? Like they always have to put on clothes, and so they should all go to always for that kind of thing. And so go ahead and go through the scenarios as you get them involved in motion movement. But here's the point of this one. The point of this one is that God always forgives, right? And so as God is always forgiving us, we know that we can turn to him because he is a good father. Then after your video, after your story, you will go into the prayer time. And so definitely go into the prayer time with them. You'll have that always page from that opening activity and just remind them, hey, like the Lord always loves us. And how awesome is that? And can we thank him for always loving us? And just go to the Lord in prayer, knowing that he's always listening, that he always loves us, that kind of thing. That would be really good. Now, this next one, you'll have some memory verse cards. You'll have that as an activity page. And then you'll have some like cardstock that they can, so go ahead and have them put up in pairs. Okay, put them in pairs. And then have one of the children put their hands on the piece of paper. The other child, this will be easier if the other child does it, like their partner does it. They will draw the hand out, right? So they're making a handprint. Then they can cut out the handprints and all of that stuff. And when they're done with that, you can glue one of the it's called the memory verse cards. And so you'll glue one of those cards to the two handprints. And then when they're glued to those two handprints, it'll kind of like clap together like this. If you put the memory verse like this, and then a handprint's right here and a handprint's right here, then it'll kind of clap together. And so what that's supposed to say is God and forgiveness go hand in hand, right? And so it's all about just remembering that God's goodness is all over that. And so that'll be a really fun one, just as they do a craft for that. Then this next one, you'll have a prop. It's like a story prop thing, but you use people as the props. It'll be really fun. And you have a couple of props that go along with it too. And you have a script that goes along with all the different props in the story points. So that one's called story points. And what you're doing is basically you'll have like two children act out and be the actors in this story that you're going to reenact. Okay. And as you read it out, so like one day Jesus told a story to make a point about forgiveness. There was a man with two sons, blah, 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 blah. And so as you're reading this out, they're supposed to, the father and the son are acting as complete still mannequins, like that they're not alive, but they can be moved by another child. And so find another child or two to come up and move the children that can't move to enact the story. And so that's really fun. It's kind of like a puppet thing going on. But what that's all about is just reenacting the story and getting that whole story in our heads as far as what happened in the story and applying that. And then you'll have a forgiveness matchup activity. And so with this matchup activity, you have different cards. And these different cards are color-coded on which ones are correct for forgiveness and unforgiveness. But the cards are that. One of them is about forgiving. One of them is about not forgiving. And so you want to kind of have them realize, okay, which one is forgiveness? Which one is unforgiveness when they find a match? And so you have them all face down, and then they'll try to find a match and stuff as they go through all of that. And then when they find a match, you can be like, okay, then ask all those questions. And with this, we are going just into like, okay, why do we forgive? Like, should we forgive? Should we always forgive? And so in these different scenario cards, hopefully you can dive into some good examples that they will relate to on how they can forgive others. And that's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for all that y'all do. Y'all are amazing, and we'll see you in a little bit.